I'm in a part of East Renfrewshire which is quite unique. It has quite a different history from the rest of the area. Barrhead, situated in the picturesque Leveron Valley, about 7 miles south of Glasgow, was originally within the district of Renfrew. Now it forms part of the new authority of East Renfrewshire. Today the town is largely a dormitory area for Glasgow and Paisley. Looking around, you'll find a wide selection of housing. There's everything from council houses, traditional and modern flats, to bungalows and villas. Now there's little industry in the area, and only a hint remains of what once made Barrhead world famous. In 1951, the situation was quite different. There were several industries, of which the most famous was Shanks, whose sanitary ware was known throughout the world. Barrhead was also a borough in its own right, with its own town council and provost. Robert Hutchison was provost for 3 years, 1949 to 1952, as his son Roy recalls.
In these days, of course, Barrhead was a borough and had been a borough for a good 75 years in its own right. It was the only borough in this end of the county, in the area that's now East Renfrewshire. There is no other borough in East Renfrewshire other than Barrhead. Of course, in the 1950s, Barrhead was no longer wasn't the dormitory town to Glasgow that it is today. It was an industrial town, a town in its own right, where the people mostly knew one another because they'd been to school, they were at work within the borough. Quite different from today, and I really hanker after these days. So it was that in 1950 or thereabouts, my father approached George Dunn, whom he knew quite well, and asked him to make a film of some of the events in the town during his term of provost.
When Mr. Robert Hutchison asked me to make the film, it was mooted by the town council at that time, and they had formed a committee to collect everything concerning Barrhead at that time for the future generations to may appreciate. So, as I say, we had the film and the camera. The film was purchased from Mr. McPherson's. He was a great local photographer and chemist at that time. So we had arranged then for a Saturday morning, and Mr. Hutchison came then with his car, and we went to the foot of the town, which was the Blackbriars Road end, and I was perched through the sunroof of his Morris car, and he drove slowly and avoiding all the potholes so that everything would go quite smooth.
The journey continued along Glasgow Road. At that time, you could not continue up Dovecote Hall Street, as this was a cul-de-sac. This is a view showing the original line of Glasgow Road from Dovecote Hall Street. In the foreground is the Leveron Water, but the footbridge is no longer there. Here, one of the Western SMT buses passes down Glasgow Road. This area is quite different as the road layout was later changed. A new bridge was built and the traffic allowed to continue up Dovecote Hall Street. At the junction of Glasgow Road and Carley Bar Road stood the old toll house, which was a favourite meeting place for the locals to exchange gossip. We continue up to Carlibar Road and the Jubilee Bridge, with the co-op shops on the right-hand side. This is Dovecote Hall Street from Carlibar Road, showing the Dovecote Hall Inn. Today, Dovecote Hall Street is a busy through road, leading up to the realigned junction at the roundabout. In 1951, it was as shown on this old postcard, with no cars to be seen, a quite different picture today. The old toll house has gone now, and with it the popular meeting place. Further round over the Jubilee Bridge, Carlibar Road comes to a dead end. The nursing home replaces the co-op shops. Now, on the subject of the co-op, there's quite a remarkable story concerning one John McInnes in 1860, as Hugh Waters explains.
The cooperative movement had taken off down south. It was a great thing in England, the cooperative society. And there was a small printer in Barrhead. He shop in the original Main Street. And he had heard about this cooperative movement down south, and he thought it was a brilliant idea. And he decided that there was a conference going on at that time coming up at that time in Birmingham, and he decided that he would make his way down to Birmingham and see what this cooperative business was all about. So he travelled down to the conference in Birmingham, and he came back filled with the idea. Just incidentally, how did he get there to and from Birmingham? Transport at that time wasn't all that great. And I can tell you, he walked both ways. When he came back, he got in touch with a few of his colleagues, and between them they set up what became the SCWS, the Scottish Cooperative Wholesale Society. Now there you have it. Barrhead started the SCWS, and Barrhead also became the first town in Scotland to have a cooperative shop. And that was the first of many cooperative shops in Barrhead. There was one at Graham's in Paisley Road, there was one in George Street, there was one in the Spring Hill, there was one, 2 or 3 in the Main Street, there was one in Chrysarthurley Street, and there was one down at the bottom of Glasgow Road. We also had the cooperative creamery, the cooperative laundry, and the cooperative transport department, all centred in Barrhead. And it's rather ironic that at the present time that the place where the SCWS started and the place where it had the first cooperative shop doesn't have any at the present time. They've all gone.
The journey continues from the roundabout up Main Street. Back in 1951, it was quite a different Main Street. Here we are, travelling along past rows of houses, all now demolished. On the left, if you look carefully, you will see the old junction with Orrs Road. While some might mourn the passing of this scene, Hugh Waters is a bit more pragmatic.
In 1951, the Main Street, the tram cars used to rattle through the Main Street, and they were very, very close to the footpath, to the pavement. So the Main Street was very much narrower than the dual carriageway of the present time. And people driving through Barrhead at that time, it was a mass of sort of broken down buildings and one thing and another. As a matter of fact, I used to point out to people that when the war came, it was a great thing for Barrhead because it looked as if the main street had been severely bombed, so we could blame it on the actual war, but it wasn't a war at all, it was just the passage of time.
The main street centre has replaced the old buildings and the dual carriageway makes the area brighter. Although people have mixed views about the centre, it does provide a meeting place. Perhaps you can spot a friend or neighbour out shopping or having a restful seat and a blether. Looking across the road, the scene is in complete contrast to how it looked in 1951. The sports centre and car park have replaced all the old buildings. On the same side as the shopping centre, the old borough chambers are still there and house the popular local museum. Fortunately, most of the old property still remains as shop units beyond the museum. The old gasworks have now gone, as has the Pavilion Cinema. And the ground now awaits redevelopment, which leads us on to Allen's Corner.
The locals gave names to the places if it had some connection with maybe someone in the area. Well, Allen's Corner was actually named after Allen's paper shop, which was situated on the corner. But it was really just the start across Atley Street